So you're going to get a little bit of sadness out of Adam. That is personal sadness of being hungry. And I guess DFS, although not a bad DFS night for you. All told?
No, DFS was fine. Like I think I broke even, made a little bit, but
That's a good
Yahoo
year.
came through to get me back to even.
There you go. I was not even. We'll get into that in a second. But welcome to the NBA Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Sports. It is Tuesday, January 14th. My talking has now woken up my dog on my couch. He seems less than enthusiastic to have heard me speak, which is probably not the minority for most people. We've got a six.
I definitely am with your dog.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We've got a 6-gamer coming up today. Lock is at 7:30 also, so be ready for that. All of our later shows, Deeper Dive, Live Before Lock, starting a half hour after they normally do. But first and foremost, take a peek back at yesterday's slate. The question for you is, how much Jahlil Okafor did you end up with? Did you see what did he finish with on FanDuel? 57.3 minimum salary coming?
I had 75% on DraftKings, 16% on FanDuel.
Yeah, okay. I had 13 on FanDuel. Had more on a previous crunch, and I was like, I cannot play that much Jahlil Okafor. He could just as easily play 12 minutes in this scenario. Very low.
I was pissed
trust
that he
spot.
started because I was going to play a lot anyway.
I was gonna have him. Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna have him regardless. Way easier to stomach on DK than he was on FanDuel. Just given the scenario, given the other options and the one center like possibility. I was feeling very happy at halftime of that game when he was sitting on a 40 burger and I had 13%. So I immediately ran to the computer and started looking to see who I had predominantly in all of these other Jahlil Okafor lineups. Chris Paul was in 11 of 14. I was like, cool, he's terrible. All right, well, I've got LeBron, I've got Kuzma coming. Yeah, that went really well. So I wasted all of my Jahlil Okafor. SGA with a big one went for 60 on FanDuel. I've got since we now have some FanDuel contests and lineup study, I've got the $7.77 shot machine up right now. Did not go well for old Josh. Chalk play of the day last night was LeBron James, 61% owned. I had 82.
I had 100.
Yeah, I don't regret having 82. Went for 45. Lonzo Ball, the second most owned guy, came in slightly under the field there. Al Horford, third chalkiest guy. Ben Simmons, fourth. Josh Hart, fifth, was not very good. The one that hurt me most. Came in double the field on Kyle Kuzma. He went for 18.6 FanDuel points. Not good. Not good. Loved that play heading into lock, hoping that Anthony Davis would not play. Didn't matter.
Yep, same boat.
4,700 on FanDuel. Really difficult to get away from. Wish I would have got away from it. Tried to get away from a little bit of it, which ultimately would have been beneficial, but also probably not the best option.
Yeah, the thing was, like, even if Davis played, Kuzma was okay at that price. So,
yeah,
like, I didn't really care.
No, neither did I. And when he wasn't playing, I was certainly happy. Ultimately, didn't matter. Devontae Graham, good work. Shout out. I'm very happy. De'Aaron Fox was my contrarian pick in our syllabus yesterday, so I'm a little happy about that one.
I had lots of him, and it did not matter.
I was neutral to the field, but I'll happily cling to one thing that I said right yesterday because the rest of it was largely terrible.
I think I had 30% on FanDuel and like 30% on DraftKings.
Nice. Yeah, Chris Paul was bad. I had a little bit there, and wish I would have had a little bit more SGA instead. Paul with 20, SGA with 60. So
I'm just staring at the screen grab I sent Stratford last night. So before the late game started, I had a Lonzo, Shea, Tatum, Wood, Okafor lineup with 3 guys to go, like LeBron, Whiteside, and Zeller. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to win everything.
Yeah.
It did not get there.
No. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So you have LeBron, Whiteside, Zeller in that scenario. Do you think you should... Did you look into any swaps?
That was a swap. Originally, I had LeBron, McCollum, Love. which did much, much, much better. Then Zeller was announced as starting, and so I late swapped all my stuff and got to Zeller Whiteside.
Do I have? God, I don't know. All right, I'm just gonna use. I'm gonna clear out my projections here. I have last night's slate up. Who did you have in that lineup at that point in time? It was SGA.
That had already played, or that
SGA, Lonzo,
Tatum, Christian Wood, and Okafor.
Okay, so 5 guys. What I'm gonna do is I've got
if you give me a winning lineup, I'm just leaving the show.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to, but I want to see just what those other scenarios could have been for those other 3 spots. Yeah. So I'm gonna lock those guys. Can I remove games and still have those guys locked? Do you know? This would have been like heading into the 10 o'clock games, is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah, it was going into the last 3 games.
Okay. I don't know if that's going to work like I wanted to. We'll find out. No, that doesn't work like I wanted it to. I wanted to lock them, but only have... I guess I'd have to... I can't just unselect those guys, can I? Like... I can't lock someone and then remove everybody else.
I think the way you have to do it is to like lock them and then unclick everyone on their team.
Oh, that's going to be annoying. I'm really intrigued to see like what the other lineups would be. Okay, I think I can do this.
I ended up running 3 versions of it. Like in the 100K to first, I ran the one that I said. In the one of the 10K to first, I ran the one I originally had. And then in another 10K to first, I ran Lillard over Whiteside. None of them won.
Okay, I think I actually did this now. So let's see where we end up. Just make like 50 lineups. This is just using FC's projections, locking those 5 guys. Let's put like 40% randomness on just to create some wiggle room. Well, you end up with, in the first lineup that got generated, Lillard, Melo, Whiteside. So actual score, if I just crunched out 50, the top actual score ends up being 414. You get Fox, Bielitsa, LeBron James.
Did you adjust your projection for Zeller starting?
Of course not. And I whatever was in Fantasy Cruncher is what I went with.
So you're just going to make me feel bad by not playing Zeller, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, he had 14.25 actual points. I don't want to get worse lineups than what you played.
I would like that to happen.
I just wanted to see, like, you know, what Fantasy Cruncher would be saying is like their optimal combination if you're trying to maximize that. So Fox, Bielitsa, LeBron, Fox, PJ Washington, LeBron, Fox, Love, Vooch, which that I like a lot.
Yeah.
408 and a quarter.
Yeah, but also like you're never fading LeBron in that situation.
Oh no, not at all. That's a really good point. I should probably just lock LeBron. So basically, we're talking about what are the other 2 combinations. Yeah, there's no scenario where you hit.
Right, you're not like, I'm not going to late games. Let me not play $9,500 LeBron.
Right, that's the point of playing that cash in that spot. You've already hit your like 1-outers and booked that.
Right.
That's a good point. LeBron should be locked in that scenario. So let me lock LeBron. Wait, did I already do that? Oh, I clicked it on the bottom of the damn screen. Clearly. Okay, so best 2-man combinations after that per Fantasy Cruncher's projection. I never put any updated DK stuff in, so it's whatever would have been in there at 9:30 in the morning. Probably not going to be all that valid. Highest actual score, as we know, is Fox, Bielitsa, then Fox, PJ Washington. Devontae Graham, Bielitsa. That would have been... You had Whiteside, Zeller after Zeller was starting.
Yeah. Yeah, before that I had Love, McCollum.
Right, let me add ownership here. Highest ownership play, if you're just adding them together, then is Chetty Whiteside, which, probably not going to end up on that one in that scenario. Zeller Whiteside.
That's what I did just with Zeller instead.
Right.
But like same price point.
Yeah, I would rather have Zeller knowing he's starting than Chetty in this spot. I just want to see if there's anything like McCollum Love, which is what you mentioned, would have been the third highest owned combination of those guys coming out. Bazemore Whiteside. I'm not seeing anything that like would drive me crazy. Otherwise, you start leaving a lot of like McCollum Bielitsa. I like, and I probably like more than what you played. But you're also leaving $1,300 on the table at that point, and that's just
right.
Like, I don't like it that much.
I wasn't high on Bielitsa either. Obviously, he had a monster game.
Yeah, I didn't trust it either.
Yeah. Stratford had him in a really good lineup, and he was DMing me at like 10:30, and he said something about Bielitsa, and I couldn't tell if he was like happy or he was saying he was busting. And I was thinking like, yeah, you idiot, you played Bielitsa. And I was like, what's he have? And he's like, oh, he has 50. And I was like, oh, okay.
Do you know what you had Zeller projected for?
Somewhere around a point per minute.
Okay.
Probably like 24.
Okay. I'm just gonna bump him to 24.25, and then we can get started. Just want to see how much more he comes up.
I know that on the late slate, I had 100% Zeller and 100% LeBron, so that went well.
Zeller Whiteside, Zeller Lillard are the top two.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yep. Zeller Lillard would have been an additional 22 points if you needed it.
I did that in the $10 10K to first.
I didn't say that like I was trying to help. I was trying to be a dick.
Very aware. I was just letting you know that I did play that, and it still did not win me money.
Okay. Scotty Mac says, I don't think this is accounting for the positions he had. One would have to be center. Yeah, we're not going that deep into this.
No, it was guard, forward, utility.
There you go. Looks like we did account for it. Good like that.
Zeller forward eligible on DraftKings because everyone has to play multiple positions.
Not everybody.
Except Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Actually,
just kidding. He's a forward now.
A lot of guys with solo positions now.
A lot is in like 8 instead of 4.
Way more than it used to be. Like Lillard just point guard, Devontae Graham just point guard, De'Aaron Fox just point guard, Bielitsa just power forward, Lonzo just that point guard.
Absurd. Like he actually plays multiple positions.
Yeah. Darius Garland just point guard. There's more than there used to be, but it's not like they make sense.
Right. It used to be good when like most guys were one position and some were multiple instead of the other way around.
Alrighty. I'm ready to dive in if you are. But first, we must talk about the only place where you can become a baller. That would be Yahoo Sports, the presenting sponsor of this show. Check out Emacs Cash Building Blocks article, which has been dropped in chat. Don't know if it'll get dropped in again, but it has been dropped in YouTube chat. Read that article from yesterday. Get a feel for where Emac was for Monday's slate, and then click the link at the bottom. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get yourself $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. It's going to be softer competition, CSV edits now, lower management fees. They do run contests without any management fees, and honestly, since it's the only place that you could become a baller, that should be the selling point right there. Please go check it out. They are the presenting sponsor of this show and of the Early Bird podcast. So we're very, very happy to have them. Would highly recommend if you check them out. But don't just do that. Go to awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code NBA Strategy, one big word. Get yourself 50% off your first week of any package you choose. It could be individual sports, NFL, still going a little bit. Nobody cares. NBA, baseball, coming soon. Man, we're like, 2+ months away from baseball being back. You excited about that?
Only because NBA sucks so much for me.
That's fair. NHL.
I also love the start of baseball season just because it's spring and a new sport.
That's a good point. I'm just sick of the NBA at that point from a roster's perspective. I'm tired of rostering like guys that don't belong in the G League. That
Right.
part sucks.
Right.
Hockey, PGA, NASCAR, soccer, MMA. We got a ton of stuff going on, guys. So if you want to use the promo code NBA Strategy to get 50% off your first week, you can do that. Oh, 6 games. Six games. Atlanta Hawks and Phoenix Suns. You ready to start this off?
Sounds like a great spot to start.
Yeah. Hawks 110.5 implied total. Suns 113.5. Trae Young questionable. DeAndre Hunter questionable, I believe. But it gets weirder than that. We got a lot of guys not playing, which we already know, including Alex Len is doubtful, and Bruno Fernando is out. Hunter is officially questionable, sprained finger. Trae Young, hamstring, questionable. I put Trae Young in for right now because if I don't, then I'm going to end up with all of the Hawks because everybody's like 4K because they stink. But I think the guy that we need to start with is, how many minutes do you think Damian Jones gets, and is he just the value play of the day?
Guessing Len is out by your question?
Alex Len is doubtful.
Doubtful, okay. Jones still doesn't have to play that much.
I gave him 24 minutes. I gave the other 24 to Collins and then gave Collins more at the 4. I guess Collins could play all the minutes at the 5, but it's not as if they're like drowning in guys to play the 4 either.
Yeah, I mean the thing that makes me think Jones is that the Suns have real centers too.
Right. Although Ayton coming off the bench, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I mean I guess Collins could just play. Yeah,
I think Jones is going to have to play some sort of chunk of minutes. They just don't have any other bodies that are big human beings.
Right, but the thing with Jones is that he can just do nothing.
That's also true.
But yeah, I mean, I would think like 20 plus minutes for Jones.
Yeah. I gave him 24, which makes him just, a stupid point per dollar play at the minimum on both sites. I assume I get the same sort of scenario, even if I put him at 20. Like, as far as value goes, there's not a lot of it out there right now, and he's probably the best of it, maybe. Just given being 3,500 and 3K and 6K and $10, like he's the bottom of the barrel. The only place I wouldn't really care about playing him is Yahoo. You're just going to need more points than what he's going to provide, probably. But for 3K on DK with no value out there, it's hard to get away from that.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we talk about a lot. Like 3K is like 3K versus 4K. Like 3K is a huge deal because it's just so hard for that to hurt you. Like just go back and look at the last time Atlanta played when you had Brandon Goodwin, who like I was below the field because it was a slate where you didn't really need to go to 3K. You could still afford who you wanted to get to. He only scored 20 points, which isn't great, obviously, but he was still in, a ton of really, really good lineups.
Speaking of Brandon Goodwin, if Trae Young is in, he's useless. If Trae Young is out, 3,800 on FanDuel, 4K on DK. Are you going back there?
He played 27 minutes, which is nice. He's been relatively productive this year. It's just it's always hard with guys like that to figure out exactly how productive they're going to be when they're playing alongside, Herder and Collins instead of whoever plays garbage time with him normally. At 4K, I don't think I would get to a lot, but it is a 6-game slate. Like you said, value right now is lacking, and it is a good matchup. So I would have some. I clearly wouldn't have as much as I did against Brooklyn last game.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I would have a ton, but I mean, given the value situation right now, it's possible that he would rise pretty quickly if I got him into the mid-20s in minutes. What do you want to do with Trae if he plays? 10K on FanDuel, 10-2 on DK.
Seems like a very reasonable price point, assuming we're getting full minutes from him, which I have no reason to assume that we wouldn't if he plays, 36, 37 minutes, 38 minutes in most games. Phoenix plays fast. Atlanta plays fast. Phoenix doesn't defend well. I think that Young looks like a good option if he's in.
I don't know what is he the guy that we want to pay up for today? is my question. We've got Kawhi at 10K, Harden at 13, no Russ, Luka at 12.6, Giannis at 12.2. Like, if we're sorting out all of those 10K guys, where does Trae Young come in for you?
Yeah, that's fair. Like Harden without Russ obviously jumps to the top. I don't care that he's 13K. Luka's in a good spot, but I would put him behind Harden. Porzingis could be back as well. Kawhi's tough because you don't want to predict blowouts, but also they're gonna beat the hell out of the Cavs. You would think.
You would think.
You would think, but also the Cavs just beat Denver in Denver, and I don't even know if they ended up winning or losing last night, but I know it was a competitive game.
I have no idea what the outcome was.
What'd you say?
I have no idea what the outcome was.
Neither do I. All I know is LeBron sucked and the Cavs were winning at half.
Lakers won by 29.
Actually, no, I did know that because I looked and I was like, oh, I looked in like the fourth quarter because LeBron had like come to life, and I was like, oh, good. And then I saw that they were killing the Cavs, and I was like, oh, he's not going to end up getting there. But yeah, like Harden's obviously the priority. So I guess to get like Harden plus Young, you would end up needing a lot of value to open up.
Yeah. You want Collins in this spot? I'm not terribly interested, but I never am.
Right. I was gonna say the same thing. It's a perfectly fine spot. It's not that he's a bad play. It's that he's always really popular, especially if Trae Young's out, and he doesn't get that much of a bump without Young. Like, he's not going out there creating his own shots, so he's not someone who sees a huge usage bump or something like that when Young is out. Last slate was one where he was like 45% owned. I think I had 1%, and he busted, which was nice. But it's just he's a good play, but people tend to roster him way more than they should.
Yeah, he's a guy that I am notoriously just massively under on. 1.31 FanDuel points per minute over his last 30 days. I have him as a 1.17 guy in my model, and that's sort of the piece that becomes problematic. He's been on a heater. He's been on a heater. Price comes up. I don't think his true talent is that, so I'm just naturally not going to get him for a while.
Yeah, so for me, it's not that I do something crazy and project him for like half of his actual production, but I project him where he should be. But there's at his price point, there's always guys around him that project about the same. And when half the field is like, oh, we need John Collins, I just end up not playing John Collins.
Mm-hmm. How's that been working out for you?
I got second on Yahoo last night. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Fair enough. Would you play a head-to-head?
I'm not awake enough to respond to that. Good comeback.
It was too good to come back for. Like, it was just sometimes you got to just take it. Anything else from the Hawks? Reddish, Hunter, Herder. Herder 4,800 on FanDuel is nice. 6,200 on DraftKings is a little sillier.
Yeah, I think that where he's cheap, it's obviously reasonable, especially if Young's out, you get a bump in assist percentage. But yeah, it's all about the price there.
And then we go to Phoenix, a team that insists on playing their center at power forward off the bench. I don't know what they're doing or like what kind of point they're trying. Is DeAndre Ayton just like weird? Is he like a real eclectic dude behind the scenes? Because none of this seems like the right way to bring around your former number one pick.
It's really weird, yeah.
Like, if you want to just say, we think that he can smash off the bench against the other team's backup five, and he's going to close for us down the line, and be like, okay, I guess that can make some sense. Do a little bit of staggering, let him work on the second unit. DeAndre Ayton just keeps claiming that he's a 4 for reasons that don't make a ton of sense to me. But I guess we need to talk about the rest of this Phoenix team. Devin Booker, 8,700 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DK. I like that DraftKings price. Ricky Rubio is questionable with personal reasons, so I'm in no position to speculate on that. I can't, no way to know whether or not he's playing. Obviously, very important if he doesn't. I like him a lot.
If he does, you get a $3,200 Okobo.
Right. I like Rubio if he's in. 6,500 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings. Those prices don't seem outlandish for the amount of minutes that he'll play. And then Kelly Oubre on FanDuel is pretty good at 7,200, a bit less so at 79. Am I missing anything for
mega
Phoenix?
revenge game for Kelly Oubre?
Did he get rerouted there?
They traded him before he even played a game.
Okay. I was like, dude, I'm gonna need some help here.
Yeah, no, the Hawks drafted him and immediately sent him to the Wizards.
Okay. What was the rest of that trade?
I have.
Let me check it. I don't remember him being drafted by the Hawks.
I'm actually not 100% sure if it was the Hawks or just the Wizards with the Hawks pick.
As part of a three-team...
Oubre was selected by the Hawks. His rights were then traded to the Wizards. I don't know what the trade was.
I've got it all here. So, as part of a 3-team trade, he was traded by the Hawks to the Wizards. The Atlanta Hawks traded Jerian Grant to the Knicks. The Knicks traded Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Hawks. And the Wizards traded a 2015 first-round pick, which was also ultimately Jerian Grant, and a second-round pick, which ultimately ended up being Cody Martin, to the Hawks. And there were 2 other second-round picks. So, I don't even know what to make of that.
So the Wizards got a huge steal with Kelly Oubre and then just let him go, is what happened.
Pretty much. And then they turned him into Trevor Ariza for 6 months.
Right.
And got rid of Austin Rivers.
Yeah, that was the big one there.
Alrighty. So I like.
Can you imagine if Kelly Oubre was still in the Wizards? Like that team would be so much more. They'd be even worse for DFS as far as trying to figure out what's going on, but they would be so much more fun to watch than they already are.
I mean, they would they desperately need him in particular.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, how great would obviously he's hurt as well, but how much better would they be if just Otto Porter and Kelly Oubre were both still like the 3 and the 4 on that team?
Yeah. I mean, they'd be a lot worse because you'd have max contracts going to Otto Porter and John Wall. But
that's true.
John Wall apparently threw down a really sick 360 reverse dunk in like practice or something yesterday.
Seems smart. He probably did it in socks too. Do you have any interest in DeAndre Ayton?
Kind of, just because it's Atlanta, but
Fair.
Like I hate that he's coming off the bench because it just means he's playing less minutes. Like he played 26 minutes against Charlotte. You didn't get, or you barely got. No, you didn't get any. Ayton and Baines alongside each other. It's really annoying, like that he's coming off the bench, like you mentioned earlier. So, not particularly interested. Like if he's getting no ownership, I'll take a shot at him just because he could play 32 minutes and Baines plays 16, and if he's like 2% owned, that wins you a tournament. But he's been getting ownership lately, so if that's the case, I'll end up just not.
I don't know what to do with Baines' minutes, by the way.
Yeah. I hate spots like this because I don't want to go like 22 minutes for Baines and 26 for Collins. I don't want to go for Ayton. I want to go 30 to 32 minutes for Ayton, but that means giving, Baines 16 to 18 minutes. And if Baines is starting, I don't feel confident doing that. But this isn't a matchup against Atlanta where I expect them to be playing alongside each other. So I don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I think that I need to make tweaks to my Phoenix projections. I have them playing alongside each other, and they haven't in the last 2 games, and this doesn't strike me as the spot where they should. So
yeah, I mean, it's a game where Atlanta's missing their entire big front court. So
26-22, like that kind of has to be it, right?
Yeah, which sucks.
Yeah.
What I'll probably end up doing, and I don't do it too often, but when I do, I do it with centers, is I'll probably over-project both of Baines and Ayton and then set a rule not to have them together.
I think that makes some sense. Although, I mean, it's going to take a lot for me to want to even get to DeAndre Ayton. I would have to really over-project him. So maybe the easier answer is just not having him at all. Although, God, The Hawks are
the thing
bad.
is, like, if so let's say Ayton, we're talking about 6-game slate. Let's say DeAndre Ayton at 7,800 is 3% owned on DraftKings against the Hawks.
Yeah.
I want some DeAndre Ayton lineups just because it's really easy to see how he breaks the slate.
Yep.
And median projections aren't going to get me there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want like 20% of him or something.
He should be able to do whatever he wants to do to Damian Jones and John Collins.
Right.
If he can't,
he should be very, very productive for every minute he's on the floor. I just have absolutely no idea how many minutes that is.
That's probably the best way to describe it. Feels oddly similar. How many? We're circling back here, but now I just need to. I wanted to ask you before. Now I don't remember. How many minutes did you project Melly for last night?
26.
Okay, not 38 or whatever he ended up with.
No, I don't remember if I was complaining to you or not. I pivoted Melly to Naz Reid
at the same price point. It was in one of our threads.
Yeah. Reid ended up beating Melly in regulation, but then Melly got overtime.
Yeah, it was just like cool. I did not see that many minutes coming. Anyway, not important. Rank the Sixers and then, the Suns, and then let's get out of here.
I know I'm tired, but I don't remember talking about the Sixers.
Tired.
Very tired, and other things, but mainly tired.
Hungry.
Yeah, very, very, very hungry.
Adam was going to eat raw chicken before this show just to satiate himself.
That's all that I have right now.
Raw chicken and cannellini beans.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like something out of Hannibal.
Just put some ketchup on it, you'll be fine. Apparently.
Yeah. It would still be better than Lofty's breakfast.
Yes.
So I mean, it's tough to rank them right now because it depends on Rubio. Right. I like whoever the point guard is for Atlanta a lot. I like Booker a lot.
Yeah.
I like Oubre a lot. His price has come up a bit though. And then I mean, like Ayton is just, if he's gonna be really low owned, I like him. But if he's gonna get any ownership like whatsoever, then I'll just not have him.
That makes sense to me. For right now, if Rubio is in, I like him a lot on FanDuel at 6,500. I would then go Oubre, Booker, and then probably Ayton. If Rubio ends up out, Elie Okobo, 3,500 and 3,200 is going to leap to the top of value plays. Friend of the program, Cantor33, said, best part of waking up is salmonella in your belly. I don't think that jingle's going to catch on as much as Folgers in your cup, but who knows. Brooklyn Nets, Utah Jazz, another one that should be a blasty blast to talk about. 107.75 implied total for the Nets, 108.75 for the Jazz. It's a slight pace down spot for Brooklyn. Obviously, the Jazz are quite good defensively. I haven't added any ownership yet, so guys would work their way into my player pool after I do that. I set a pretty high cutoff and then add people in accordingly. So someone like Jared Allen, I think, would get there. But as of right now, there's not a single guy from the Brooklyn Nets marked to be in my FanDuel or DraftKings player pool. And a lot of that is minutes. I don't know how many Kyrie Irving is going to play, but he's apparently playing today and on the back-to-back. I have no idea how many minutes Karis LeVert is going to play. Because I don't know those minutes, I have no idea what Spencer Dinwiddie is going to do. This is a really difficult team to project for DFS, but it also just might be easy in that I'm not sure anybody is really worthwhile. Am I missing anybody here?
Kyrie is kind of interesting. He played, so obviously, like if you just look at that game against Atlanta, it's really easy to be like, oh, Kyrie played 20 minutes in his first game back. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. Like he was limited, blah, blah, blah. He played like 15 minutes in the first half. They were just beating the hell out of Atlanta. And so he went off for 6 minutes in the third quarter and then never came back. Like he was on his way to playing 20, 30 minutes. He's 8K on FanDuel. He's another one where it's similar to Ayton in that I don't think Kyrie's getting like monster minutes. And if he's going to get a bunch of ownership against Utah, then I'm fine just not having him. But he can pretty easily play 28, 30 minutes here. And if people aren't going to have him, it's still Kyrie Irving at a cheap price tag.
I gave him 24. I have no idea what to do.
I think that's really low.
They're on the front end of a back-to-back. So I really just... Now, I understand it wasn't a lower body injury. It's not as if he's got healthy legs to begin with. Dave Loughran in chat right now. YouTube chat, I might add. Either... that can't... What? I have no idea. Anyway, not important. Really not important for everybody involved to know that Laffy is here. I don't necessarily think you're wrong. Like, I don't feel comfortable giving him 24 either. I could bump that up easily.
I'm never wrong.
Right. How'd Zeller work out?
I was right. James Borrego was wrong.
You know what? That's probably more true than false. Yeah, I mean, he's certainly the best center on the team. I'm nervous about the back-to-back. The go-to Philly tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fair. But again,
I'd have a hard time going north of 28.
Okay, but again, it comes back to it's really similar to Ayton for me. Like if Irving is going to get no ownership at 8K on FanDuel, then I'll hope he gets to like the high end of his minutes range. If he's getting any, then I just don't want it.
Right. So we're obviously talking about two separate things then in that scenario too. Like the ownership of Kyrie Irving is making the decision a lot more than like how we think he's going to play. You don't really have to project Kyrie Irving at all in this scenario then.
Right. I agree with you that the median projection for Kyrie is really tough to nail down, and it has to factor in that no matter how many minutes he played in the first half or was on pace for last game, he did only play 20 minutes. It is the front end of a back-to-back. Like, there is a lot of downside risk there where Kenny Atkinson's just like, yeah, okay, that's all the Kyrie that you're getting today. So the median projection has to factor that in. But it's still Kyrie Irving with a chance to play 30 minutes at a really cheap price tag on FanDuel. Yeah. If no one else wants it, then I become interested.
What do you think the chances are that Kyrie goes for 50 today? That is where I'd have the target score at 8K as of right now.
I mean, so you would need him to play like 30 minutes, and you would need him to play really well.
Yeah.
So it's really, really low.
Okay. That would be what? 1.66.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could trust it at that salary. You need everything to go right. The only benefit is if he's fully unowned. Because if he gets to like 10 to 15, I'm good.
If he what?
If you got to like 10 to
ownership.
15% ownership,
I agree.
At that point, it's just like, if that hurts me, it hurts me. But I feel like I'd rather just be on the opposite side of it.
Yeah, it helps that I actually thought it was more difficult last slate because he was playing Atlanta. I jammed in a ton of him there. I think I had like 75% on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But like he was a little bit cheaper. He was facing the Hawks. It was just like if he gets 30 minutes, he probably breaks the slate.
And then I don't think that there's anything else that's like really interesting. Jared Allen for 5,500 on FanDuel, I think is fine because ultimately he and DeAndre Jordan are independent of all of these guards coming back. So like in theory, they're the only two guys you can totally trust. DeAndre Jordan is 4,400 on DK on a day with very, very little low-end value. It kind of needs to get looked at. Been playing a little bit better as of late, but I can't get to Dinwiddie right now. I don't think that I can get to Karis LeVert.
It's really tough with Brooklyn right now because not only do you have minutes, like you have two guys on minutes limits in LeVert and Kyrie. You don't really know exactly how those are going to end up, but they're also two massive usage guys. So you know that Dinwiddie's losing usage. You just don't know exactly how much. You don't know exactly how much LeVert or Kyrie are going to have because between Kyrie's injury and LeVert's injury, you don't have a really big sample size of all three of these guys being healthy. It's a really, really, really tough team to project right now.
Yeah, I would expect the most likely scenario for me is to have very little Brooklyn, if any.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I am a little bit more interested in having some of the Utah Jazz, in particular Donovan Mitchell, 7,200 on FanDuel, 7,700 on DK. $32 on Yahoo looks good, but I'd rather have Rudy Gobert for $35 if we're talking Yahoo prices. I don't have any issue rotating through Gobert or Ingles or Boyan. Jordan Clarkson's still getting pretty big minutes, 4,800 on FanDuel, probably not a problem. How do you want to handle the Jazz in a spot where they're going to pick up a couple extra possessions?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty appealing spot. Like Brooklyn has been really good defensively, but they do play faster. And you do have pretty appealing salaries on these guys. So I think Gobert looks decent. 9,200 on DraftKings is a little high, but normally, and it's the same for me today. I don't end up like jamming in any one guy from Utah, but they have a pretty tight core as far as guys that are going to produce between Bogdanovich, Gobert, Mitchell, Ingles. And so I like them as guys where, assuming they're not getting tons of ownership, you can use them as differentiation plays in tournaments because you know Utah's going to score points here. You don't really know exactly where it's coming from, but like you know that they're going to score points, and you know it's going to come from one of four guys.
Pretty much, yeah. We at the very least, the Utah Jazz minutes are incredibly consistent, and we don't have to worry about that sort of mess. Yeah, I don't have anything like fun to say about Utah. It's Gobert, Mitchell, Ingles, Bogdanovich, to a lesser extent Clarkson. 5,600 for Clarkson on DK. Feels like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, definitely not getting there on DK with Mitchell back.
But I would say Mitchell is my favorite. Ingles probably second. Ingles definitely second on FanDuel, where he's only 5,400. That's all I've got for this game. Not a fun DFS game. I would imagine probably the worst of the slate. Let's move on to Memphis and Houston. This should be fun. The Memphis Grizzlies, 116.75 implied total. Houston Rockets, 121.25. Grizzlies have been pretty good lately. I think they're like 7-3 in their last 10. They like sneaky have a non-zero chance to make the playoffs in the West. I want to make sure that I'm not totally crazy by that. 8% right now. A little bit lower than what I thought it was from the podcast I was listening to. Let's start on the Memphis side. We have Jonas Valanciunas coming in off of a pretty nice game. He's at 6,700 on FanDuel, 7,300 on DK. I like him a little bit more on FanDuel. Jay Crowder looks like filler on a day with very little value. Jaren Jackson for 6,800 on DK. It's rare to see guys priced lower on DraftKings than FanDuel as of late. He happens to be one of those guys right now. I don't have much Ja Morant. That feels incorrect-ish. Should be a really fast-paced game. What do you want to do with Memphis? 116.75 implied total.
The pricing on Memphis, at least on DraftKings, just seems pretty correct to me.
Yeah.
Valanciunas jumped like $1,000 after his massive game against Golden State. They're just naturally going to be like secondary options. You know, Ja Morant obviously can have a good game. So can Jovel. So can Jackson. But none of them look like great values. I think that the guys that I'll probably end up with the most of, just because they help me fill out lineups, are Dillon Brooks and Jay Crowder. Brooks has about a 26% usage rate since Ja Morant returned in early December. He plays 28 to 30 minutes. He's not going to give you a lot in the way of peripherals, and if he's not making his shots, you're in a world of trouble. But the opportunities are there. He's pretty cheap. And then Jay Crowder should play around 30, 32 minutes, and he's only 4,800 on DraftKings.
It feels a lot like the Jazz to me. A couple guys that I expect to get rotated through as pieces, but no one that I just want to go crazy for.
Right.
Like 12-2 for Jaren Jackson on Fantasy Draft, I think is probably the best price of anybody from the Grizzlies across any site. Jovel for 27 on Yahoo feels fine. But yeah, Jovel, Jackson, Crowder, to a lesser extent Brooks. I'd like to get more Morant. It might be a guy that I need to dig into a little bit more. But for right now, I feel like he's the guy that I would get the least of. And then we move to Houston. 11-7 on FanDuel, 13,000 on DraftKings, 23,700 on Fantasy Draft, and $58 on Yahoo. We have James Harden, and we do not have Russell Westbrook on the floor. People are going to want to know. How do you handle a 13K James Harden on a day like today?
You put him in your lineup and then you keep going.
Yeah. Yes, you do. He's pretty good when Westbrook's not on the floor, you know?
Yeah. 1.84 DraftKings points per minute, 47.3% usage, 46.9% assist percentage. Last time Westbrook was out, I believe he shot the ball, what was it, like 38, 39 times?
Something like that.
He scored 80-something DraftKings points and shot like 30% from the field.
I think he shot worse than that even. But yeah, it's... Is there anything that slows you down here? Like, is Harden the guy you're trying to pay up for?
Harden is the guy. There's no trying. Like, I'm getting Harden in my lineups and then figuring out the rest.
So, where I'm going with that is he's ahead of Luka. He's ahead of Giannis.
Yes.
I agree. Without adjusting any rates right now, I have him at 62.4 fantasy points, and I know that is going to go up dramatically when I actually get to this. I cleaned all of my old rates out, and I'm slowly working my way through each game. I only have Harden at 40% usage.
Right. Like, so having Westbrook in, like, as a baseline, I have Harden at, 62, 63, like you said. Once I take Westbrook out, he's going to be at like 75.
Yeah, he's to me the no-brainer. 11-7 on FanDuel is going to be even more ridiculous. That is significantly easier to get to. To me, the clear pay-up option on FanDuel. But what else do we do with Houston? Is it Clint Capella, 7,900 on FanDuel, 7,800 on DK? Your boy, PJ Tucker, 3,900 on FanDuel, 37 on DraftKings. Your other boy, Eric Gordon, 41 and 48. What do we do with the rest of these Rockets?
McLemore in the starting lineup now, too.
3,500 on DK.
What'd you say?
3,500 on DK.
Yeah, I think that's a decent piece of value. The minutes should certainly be there for him. He's cheap. I wish Capella wasn't playing because Hartenstein would be a really good value option. But with Capella expected to play, I think his salary is nice. The problem is just that Harden is the priority for me. So you can only get to so many guys that are not cheap in addition to that. But Capella, I think if you can get there is a good option.
We got a question from Elevate Doctor in YouTube chat, and I don't really have an answer for it, but I'm just going to throw it out there. How much salary would be considered too high for Harden?
Without Westbrook?
Yes.
It comes down to he's never going to have a salary that is too high for his production without Westbrook.
Right.
It would come down to the value on the slate and if you can just not get him in the lineups. Like at 13K, you still have enough room to work. Like you have, like on DraftKings, you still have, 50, I think like 5,200 per position.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is that right?
That sounds right to me, right?
Okay. Yeah, so like you can still work with that. Like if you made him like 15K, he's still going to project really well for that salary, but you're going to just like run out of good plays around him.
Yeah, 1,300 or 13,000 right now is not going to be a problem. Maybe
I'm not sure if anyone at this point. I don't know how many people remember it, but you probably do. Do you remember when Durant and Westbrook were on Oklahoma City the year that Durant got hurt?
Yes, when Westbrook just took over everything.
Yeah, he ended up getting up to like 14-5 or something like that.
That sounds right to me.
And I hated that season because it was basically I was like, I'm not paying for a chalk 14K guy. And you had to every single day because he was going to score 70, 80, 85 points.
30, 10, and 10 was just like, this is the floor.
Right.
This is the floor. All right, so Harden, I'm going to make the adjustments to the rates just to see where he shows up since we're on here now. So I've got Russ off. Need to just add usage rate in here just so I can see it. Okay, 47.6% usage with him off the floor. So let's go ahead and bump that bad boy up. We'll get him to 46. We'll call that close enough. Assist rate is 10 for me. Bump that up a little bit. Rebound rate 8, 9. So I don't have to go too much higher. that should be close enough. I've got him up to 69.1 fantasy points. And by far the best option on the slate, as far as I'm concerned. That James Harden, Damian Jones pairing looking pretty tasty now. Gonna need all of that salary. That's 16,090.7 fantasy points. 2 8K 45 pointers. I'll take it. I fully expect to get a bunch of Clint Capella, and then if PJ Tucker is under 4K on both sites on a day with no value, I'm there.
Yeah, PJ Tucker's salary is gonna be annoying because he's gonna be in a lot of lineups, and he's PJ Tucker.
I'm hoping that we get some of the value from that Atlanta Phoenix game to just like make this a little bit easier. This is a good one that I definitely want to touch on. Hey guys, might be a dumb question. How much does defense versus position play a role in your lineup? I'm going to speak for Adam here and say that it doesn't. Maybe for centers, but probably not at all.
Well, what's the question? Defense versus position?
Yeah, how much does it play a role in your lineups?
I mean, it doesn't outside of like it go like projections matter, right, and projections take defenses into account. But if you're like digging in, trying, like, let's say you're making like one lineup, which is where I think stuff like that becomes more useful. If you're making 150 lineups, you're kind of just taking projections and leveraging ownership and rolling. But I'm more willing to, in all sports, I'm more willing to look at stuff that probably doesn't matter, but that could differentiate me if I'm making like one lineup in large field tournaments. But even then, I would rather look at play type data than defense versus position, because positions are stupid.
Like at best, you're getting down to two guys, and you're like, okay, this guy's got a good DVP matchup. This guy doesn't, and I have them projected equally.
Right, but like, and in that case, though, I would rather look at pick and roll data or whatever than
ownership.
Oh, he's a point guard,
or their ownership already. Like that's
right, exactly.
It's going to be low on the list. Somebody mentioned that you said something along the lines of like, so-and-so was good against small forwards when we were on Live Before Lock last night. And I was like, there's absolutely no way that he talked about that.
Is that why that got posted? I saw it posted in chat.
Yeah.
No, it was me replying to someone. One of the games Anthony Davis was out like last month or 2 months ago. LeBron had like a dud against the Pacers. And someone said that the Pacers were like the best team in the league against small forwards, and I sarcastically quote tweeted it and said, "Damn, I wish I'd realized that."
Yeah, I laughed pretty hard at that. The reason that I hate DVP is because no one knows what they're classifying anything as. You're up to the perils of the play-by-play guy. You have no idea who has been classified as what position in any of the previous games. Really grainy data. Like, feel free to let me know what position you think Ben Simmons or Luka Doncic play in play-by-play data. There are multiple answers to this, and that's why you can't really trust it. All right, that's probably it for Memphis Houston, which means it's the perfect opportunity for everybody to hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We've got some free content today. NBA rankings are free. PGA projections are free, and I'm not entirely sure we've done that all that often, so you should really check those out today. NHL projections are free as well. Also doing a bit of a giveaway. You can check that out later tonight. I don't know if we have a pinned tweet yet or not. Let me check. No pinned tweet yet, but we are going to be doing a giveaway based on the highest score for tonight's slate, so keep an eye on the Awesemo_com Twitter account so you can get in for that. At 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, PGA show for the American Express. We'll have Ben and Tim talking golf from 2:30 to 3:30. Alex will have the game plan stream at 4 p.m. That'll be behind the paywall. Jake will have the NHL stream at 4 p.m. That is obviously in front of the paywall. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So a half hour after our normal start, Laffy will be here. He'll be back with Adam for the deeper dive. And then at 6:30 tonight, by all accounts, Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Randone taking you all the way up to live before lock. 3 games to go, my man. The next one is not pretty. Not pretty at all. The Milwaukee Bucks are hosting the New York Knicks. The Knicks are 16.5-point underdogs in Milwaukee. Start on the Milwaukee side. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 11-3 on FanDuel, 12-2 on DK, 21-6 on Fantasy Draft, and $55 on Yahoo. The floor is yours. What do you do with Giannis or the rest of Milwaukee?
I mean, it's really tough with Giannis because you're not getting Harden plus Giannis unless like half the slate gets ruled out between now and lock. So I'm just going Harden. The rest of it though, like they're going to get points somewhere, and Middleton, Bledsoe, to a lesser extent, Brook Lopez are the guys that you can look to kind of get a piece of Milwaukee without it costing you Harden. So I don't anticipate any of these guys being like my highest own plays or anything like that, but I'd be more interested in the low to mid-range Milwaukee guys than in Giannis.
I would say that Giannis is my least favorite 10K guy. Where would you land there?
Yeah, I mean, that's always hard for me to say because he's the best per minute guy out of all of them. Like his season-long per minute numbers are basically the same as James Harden without Westbrook.
Yeah, it's gross.
The issue is just the minutes. Like let's say this game is super competitive and comes all the way down to the wire. You're getting 35, 36 minutes from Giannis. In a normal game, you're still getting 38 from Harden. Right. So it's just really, really, really tough to get there.
Yeah, it's going to be like I'd rather get to Luka. I'd rather have $2,000 extra and have Trae Young. I'd rather have $2,200 extra and have Kawhi Leonard without Paul George. Really hard to justify Giannis here. Obviously, good spot against a Knicks team that's terrible. That is without probably the one guy that can quote unquote guard Giannis. Like, not that Marcus Morris can guard Giannis. No one can really, but he's the only one that has any sort of ability on the Knicks. It's not Bobby Portis. That much I can tell you. Like Eric Bledsoe for $6,200 on FanDuel, sure. I don't know. Brook Lopez. What? It's really hard for me to be interested in anything from Milwaukee. Which means, unfortunately, that we have to talk about guys on the Knicks, which I don't want to do, but slight pace up spot for New York. Julius Randle, 7,700 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DK. Looks fine. I think Elfrid Payton looks pretty good, 5,600 and 5,900. RJ Barrett has been atrocious as of late. Mid-fives price tag, I think, is viable. I hate Mitchell Robinson with a raging passion, and every time I roster him, he does not play the minutes or does not play well.
4,700 though.
Yep, 4,700 is something to look at. Talk to me about these Knicks. What do you want to do in a spot that is just, it feels like two teams that play different sports?
Right. I don't think I'll get to too much. Like, because of Harden's price tag, you have to kind of view it through that lens where I know that I'm basically spending 5,200 or whatever number I said per position because I'm just going to have Harden. So 7,500 for Randle, while it's not a bad price point, it is a bad matchup against Milwaukee. And if you go Harden plus Randle, now you're talking about 20 plus K out of two guys in your lineup. So I don't think I'll get to a lot there. Like there's guys in that price range I'd rather have than Randle. Payton's salary is okay, but still a brutal matchup. For someone like Payton too, it concerns me because it's not like he's a great scorer. He's productive because he contributes in all areas. But when you're talking about a defense that's one of the most efficient in the league in Milwaukee, you expect that you're going to get a lower percentage of potential assists converted into actual assists for guys that Payton passes the ball to. So the assist projection comes down a bit. His scoring comes down a bit. I think it's a really tough spot. RJ Barrett's salary's coming up a little bit because of Randle being out for those couple of games. Yeah. So I'm not really interested there. The only guy that really seems appealing to me is $4,700 Mitchell Robinson because he's just such a volatile player that when his salary goes up, I stop playing him. When his salary comes down, I play him more. Really, all that goes into it.
This team is just so gross and so unpredictable. we get Kadeem Allen getting minutes now when Frank Ntilikina doesn't see the floor. Damian Dotson goes from like playing 26 minutes to out of the rotation to playing 20 minutes to playing 8 minutes. Wayne Ellington is in and out of the rotation at this point. Taj Gibson, in their most recent game, played 31 minutes. I don't know why. Bobby Portis and Mitchell Robinson combined for the same amount of minutes. But yeah.
He was like 8 for 8 from the field.
Okay. Well, he's Taj Gibson. What are we rewarding here? I'm going to have more.
And that was when Randall was out.
Right. Play the youth. Play the semi-youth at the very least.
Right.
I am going to have more Knicks than I want to.
I will not.
I'm not happy about it. Like, I'm not even like half happy about it.
Enjoy losing your money.
I'm pretty used to it at this point. Can you give me some tips?
Dude, I'm the best at it.
You're at the top of those rankings. Boy, this is gonna be a tough one, man. Don't tune in to Bucks Knicks. Tune in to Golden State Warriors Dallas Mavericks. However, Mavs are 8.5-point favorites at Golden State. I believe everybody that can play for either everybody is out or in for Golden State. I don't think they have anything up in the air.
That's usually how it works. Yeah.
What I mean is there's no questionable tags or anything. It's like Damian Lee can't play because he's not under contract.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Kai Bowman is trapped. Can't play. So
Poole's questionable.
Is he? Okay. And probably doesn't matter, but I guess maybe it does. They only have
it's just like Jordan Evans minutes.
Right.
Or Jacob Evans, whatever his name is.
all these creative players on the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly.
So 7,300 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DK, 15K on Fantasy Draft. Really like D'Angelo Russell here. I hate saying that out loud. There's a soundbite. Depending on how many minutes Eric Paschall plays, he's 4K on FanDuel and 4,400 on DraftKings. I don't know if they're dusting him off for more minutes now. Do you have any idea why he played 29.9 minutes on Sunday?
It was largely in the second half. He played the final 18 minutes of the game. Okay. But it's weird because it's not like the bench unit went on a run. It's more like the bench came in and Memphis started beating the hell out of the Warriors and they just left Paschall in. I don't really know. He played like 10. He played like 11 first half minutes, 18 second half minutes.
Okay. Reasonable at 4K, I think, at FanDuel. Draymond, 5,900 on FanDuel, 6K on DK. I don't know. What do you want to do?
This is the first time I looked at their game since then. I had tons of Draymond, and he did fine at his salary last game. I'm a little annoyed now that I know he played 23 minutes.
I have D'Angelo Russell as my number 8 play on DK right now. Does that seem crazy to you?
A little bit. I mean, his salary's fine. I don't think he's a bad play. I don't know that he's a top 10 guy for me.
Would you rather have him or Devin Booker at 8,200?
I would take Booker.
Okay. Assuming Rubio in?
Don't care.
Okay. Would you rather have Russell or Oubre, same price?
Russell or Oubre? Russell.
Donovan Mitchell at 77.
I think it's close. I would slightly lean Russell.
Lou Will, 75.
Russell.
Okay. Just not a lot around him. I also have Booker slightly ahead of Russell, so we were in agreement there. But after that, you just start getting to a bunch of guys you would rather prefer Russell. And it's kind of just a gross slate.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
I mean, Russell did
I don't
play
think 8th
30...
is a badge of honor for today.
Right. And Russell did play 35 minutes despite not getting garbage time against Memphis.
We're going to have too much of this game. Russell, Draymond, Burks, Spellman, Eric Paschall, all going to be working their way into my lineups in some form or fashion on FanDuel. Gross. At least I don't have to play $5,500 Amari Spellman on DK. That makes me feel better. Probably do have to play $4,200 Glenn Robinson the third. That guy, man, he is my kryptonite. Ugh. I hate that dude, and he shows up in everything. It's those he's like Golden State's version of Harrison Barnes. Those like 0.7 fantasy point per minute guys that play 32 minutes, and it's just like, what do I do?
Right. So they end up being like good point per dollar projections, but they also have like no volatility.
Yeah. Then I run my crunch and I sort 1,000 to 150, and it's like, oh cool. Glenn Robinson is owned at 6% on DraftKings, and I have 64.
Right.
Awesome. He makes every lineup work. Yeah, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to play a lot of D'Angelo Russell tonight. I like him quite a bit. On the Dallas side, Luka Doncic is 10-9 on FanDuel and 12-6 on DraftKings. He's going to have really low ownership, isn't he?
I would think so.
Or, I guess the better question is, what is the relationship between Luka Doncic's ownership and Harden's ownership, and how does that impact what you want to do today? Since those are the two guys that are like, I think we can both agree that Giannis is a bit of a risk.
Right. I think that Luka is the guy that I would pivot to if I'm looking to get away from Harden. Like, if Harden's projected ownership gets up to 80%, which is probably where it ends up at, based on the last slate where he was like 80%. Luka for the season has averaged close to what Harden averages without Westbrook. And now you're talking about Porzingis being out. Luka's not been great since Porzingis' injury. His production's actually gone down. And to some extent that makes sense. But the ceiling is still really high because you're just getting, massive, like 40% use from him. You're getting a really high, rebound percentage and still 40+% assist percentage. So if I were looking to pivot from Harden, it would be Luka.
What do you think the ownership will be on both guys today? I know
80 on Harden.
80.
Like 80.
You think that he's going to be 80% owned?
75 to 80 on DraftKings.
Really? That feels so high.
I think that's what he was last time.
Maybe I'm wrong. 80 on FanDuel would make some sense to me. 80 on DraftKings at 13.
Okay, so all right, 60 on DraftKings, and then Luka like 15, 20.
Okay. Does that seem right to you? Does that make you want more Luka?
No, it makes me want more Harden.
Okay, that's fair. Obviously, if Trae Young sits and Ricky Rubio sits, 80% Harden becomes way more viable.
Right.
What do we have ownership yet? 14 seconds ago, James Harden. I can't even tell you what this is. Yeah, we're gonna not pay attention to those for right now. How would you feel if James Harden was 10.5% owned?
I would buy a house so I could take out a first mortgage and then take out a second mortgage.
Ben McLemore, the chalk on DK right now at 31%, followed closely by Clint Capella and Alec Burks. FanDuel, Luka 42, Harden 28. More likely to project him for 80.
Yeah.
What's higher? Your projected fantasy points for James Harden or his ownership percentage at lock?
I think it's probably pretty close. I would say, yeah. Because it's probably like 75 fantasy points.
For the rest of Dallas, depending on how many minutes you want to give DeLon Wright, I think 4,100 on FanDuel looks okay. This just feels like it's like the Jazz, but less appealing. Like, I'm going to rotate through Dwight Powell and Tim Hardaway Jr., DeLon Wright, maybe Dorian Finney-Smith, but I have no confidence in any of those guys, and I never feel like any of them are going to do well.
Yeah, and the thing with Wright, too, is that his production really goes down when he plays alongside Luka.
So bad, too, by the way. like shockingly dramatic. Dwight Powell having a bit of a renaissance now that Kristaps Porzingis isn't on the floor with him.
Yeah, he finally looks like he used to.
Yeah. It's probably not a good thing, though. I think what they're learning here is that they need to get out of that Dwight Powell contract more than anything else. I think Dwight Powell, I like Dwight Powell, but the goal should be maximizing Kristaps Porzingis in this scenario. And Dwight Powell is obviously, although his plus minus is fantastic this season. Not that that's super surprising, but
he plays a lot of minutes alongside Luka.
Right, but while his DFS stats have taken a nosedive, the team's success, he seems to be doing exactly what they want him to do. To no benefit.
But he plays a lot alongside Luka. This is like saying that Tim Hardaway is the third best offensive player in the league because he has the third best offensive rating.
But that's not what that means. That's the problem in those stats. It's not that because they're third in plus minus, they are third overall. They are third relative to their role. So Dwight Powell as the fifth guy of a starting lineup. By the way, in the second most used lineup they have, which does not contain Luka Doncic, that lineup is plus 17 fantasy points. That is with Powell at center. He's just really good at having to have no responsibility from an offensive perspective. It's like the Danny Green corollary. He's not one of the top 10 players in the NBA, but when he is the fifth guy on a floor that has to have 12% usage and play really good defense, that just makes the team better. Anyway, it's not important. I'm going to play a bunch of Dallas, but none of it with any volume, and Luka Doncic's ownership is going to be one of the most important things that I'll look at today. Because there does come a point between the relationship of Luka and Harden where things start to get weird. What do you think the odds are that Luka Doncic outscores James Harden today?
6-1.
Really? I didn't adjust it. I have Harden adjusted and Luka not adjusted, and I get Doncic 30% of the time. That seems a little high.
Yeah, I mean, I assume I'm going to get Luka projected around 67, 68, and Harden at 76 or 77.
Okay. Yeah, I have 69 and 56.6. But still, that gets Luka there 30% of the time next to Harden. It's interesting. Keep a close eye on Luka Doncic and James Harden ownership at 6 p.m. tonight. Ready to close this out?
Yep.
Clippers and Cavs. Clippers 14.5-point favorites against Cleveland. Cleveland coming off of a drubbing from the other Los Angeles team. Luckily, they just get to leave their stuff in the visitors' locker room for drubbing number 2. Clippers are going to be without Paul George for today, which means fire up your Kawhi Leonard. 9,800 on FanDuel. That's a no-brainer. 10K on DraftKings. Also a no-brainer if you can make it work. I have no issue getting to Lou Will, where he is 6,300 on FanDuel, $1,200 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. Both of the guys that I just mentioned have fantastic prices on Fantasy Draft and Yahoo. What do you want to do with the Clippers against just a putrid Cleveland Cavaliers team?
It's another spot that's tough because it's kind of similar to the Milwaukee one where this game should be able to bath, but you don't really you can't actually project that. If you're going to get around 34 minutes from Kawhi, he looks like a really good option at 10K. I would put him a little bit ahead of – I'd put him similar to Trae Young. I still, prefer Harden by a lot, even though he's 3K more. But, Kawhi's like a 1.55 fantasy point per minute guy without George.
Yeah, it's massive. On FanDuel, this gets really easy. He's an easy option to grab at power forward. Pair him up with, PJ Tucker or something like that, and you're right as rain. There's not a lot to like at power forward today. And I don't think that 9,800 is going to preclude you from getting to 11.7 James Harden either. And if we start to get any of that value from Hawks Suns, this journey gets even easier. Let's talk about the rest of the Clippers. Do you see any interest in Zubac or Pat Bev, Montrezl Harrell? Harrell 6,600 on FanDuel, I think, is at least mildly appealing.
I think $5,300 Pat Bev on DraftKings is appealing because, again, I'm anticipating just kind of working with $5,200 per position, and Bev fits into that perfectly. It's a nice matchup against Cleveland. They're bad defensively. He should be able to get some turnovers. Um, the minutes are there if the game does happen to be competitive. I think Bev looks pretty good. I wouldn't say that he's my top option from the Clippers because it's Pat Beverly, and then you're talking about a team with Lou Will and Kawhi. But I think there's a good chance that I get to Beverly more than anyone else.
What do you think of that Lou Will price on FanDuel? 6,300. I
think it's a really good price.
Yeah. I'm expecting the Harden Lou Will combo on FanDuel to be pretty highly owned. That will certainly be my most owned combination, barring weird news. Are you trying to get to anything else from the Clippers?
No.
And then we move to Cleveland with the lowest implied total on the slate, a quarter of a point below the New York Knicks. Kevin Love is 7K on FanDuel, 7,200 on DK, $28 on Yahoo. I don't want to say I'm happy to play him because these are two back-to-back just awful games for Cleveland, but it's hard not to look at him if he's going to be playing north of 30 minutes. I think Tristan Thompson looks okay. Here's all of the starters, if they are going to continue to play 30-plus minutes, are in some way viable here. They're just wildly uninteresting because playing Cedi Osman makes my soul hurt.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Have we gotten any word on Kevin Love? Because he's been sitting a lot of back-to-backs.
We have not, but I'm almost positive I read somewhere that he was going to start playing them now.
Okay. I mean, it would make sense for him to play the one in LA at least.
Yeah. There's not exactly a ton of travel.
Well, that and he's from LA.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if he's out, I was going to say fire up and then insert a name that was obvious.
You were going to say Larry Nance and then realized you couldn't.
Yeah, and then I realized that I didn't know anybody else on the team that could possibly play those positions.
Yeah, I mean, Cedi would get it, but...
Yeah, you'd be firing up your Brandon Knight, I guess.
Right. Yeah, you'd get more Axel, more Knight.
It'd be Alfonso McKinney would season. Get more minutes. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, I think assuming Love plays, his salary's fine, but it goes back to I'm playing with $5,300 per position and allocating $7,200 to Kevin Love at the Clippers probably isn't going to be high on my priority list. I'm more likely to be getting the Colin Sexton at $5,800, Darius Garland at $5,200, just based on how many minutes they play.
Oh God. I mean, they're going to lose by 20 again.
It's just a matter of when they at what point in the game they get down by 20.
All right, let's sum it up. Favorite plays from DraftKings tonight?
Harden. God, value's bad.
Hey, do you like Harden tonight?
I'm kind of high on James Harden. I mean, you mentioned at the top, Damian Jones at 3K is kind of a necessary evil, I guess. Kawhi and Luka both look good. I obviously prefer Harden. I think Draymond looks good at 6K. There's not a lot that I really love outside of Harden.
Yeah. On FanDuel, we're talking point guards. It's Rubio and Elfrid Payton for me. If Rubio ends up out, Elie Okobo season. James Harden, obviously, looking good at shooting guard. I'd like to pair him with Lou Will. At small forward, I'd like to opt out of the position entirely, but I guess Kelly Oubre and then whatever else makes me get better players at other positions. At power forward, give me the PJ Tucker Kawhi combo, and then at center, if I need the money, it's Damian Jones, and then I'm going to slowly work my way up to either Mitchell Robinson, Joe Val, or Clint Capella. This is a weird slate. and Harden being involved, his ownership is going to be fascinating. It's going to be really hard to create non-duped Harden lineups, I think. Again, depending on what happens. Because if we start getting that value, I think it gets even weirder. I don't know. This is going to be a fun one. Guys, tune back in for NBA talk at the very least. Alex will have his game plan stream at 4 p.m., but Adam will be back at 5:30 with Lofty for the deeper dive, and then Eddie and Randone will be back at 6:30 tonight for Live Before Lock. But tune in to Ben and Tim talking PGA at 2:30. Adam, anything else?
Nope, I'll be back at 5 with Lofty.
Yes, you will. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Thank you very much to Yahoo for being the presenting sponsor. Become a baller. Click the link that's dropped into YouTube chat right now. And if you want to win a free Awesemo Plus NBA pass, head to our Twitter account right now, Awesemo NBA. Just retweet, like, and reply to this tweet. Guess who scores the most fantasy points on today's slate? Spoiler alert, it's probably James Harden. You just got to be following this account in the Awesemo_com account. But you can win a free month, and that's a $60 value. You can't beat it. Best of luck, guys. We'll talk to you again later.